just a little bit of time to make sure people can roll in. I kind of got the start a little later than I meant to because I was having technical difficulties. Happy Othercon, everyone. Technical difficulties. That's just kind of how it goes, especially on Fridays. Ooh. Oh, I'm so sorry to everyone who, like, the people who did the first two panels, those first early, like, morning panels. There's always technical difficulties. There's always some permission or something. Because with an event this big, there's always something. Okay, all right, let's get the show on the road. Nova, anyone else recording, please go ahead and get that rolling. And let's do a panel. We'll get like 50 people here. All right. Welcome to Con Etiquette 101. I took the screenshot of the server last night when there were 666 people in the server. Well, accounts in the server systems. I think there's over 700 now, so we have a lot of people attending Othercon this year, which means a lot of people have never been to an online con before, or at least not Othercon. And so I thought, let's do something. Let's help people out. First off, a brief introduction to your panelist. I am Sascha Askari-Vykos. I am a 1,000-plus-year-old Zamisi vampire, causer of problems, and finder of reluctant information. I'm a plastic-eating queen, if you know, you know. They, she, occasional he or other pronoun. I am Chaya's wife and Elias's husband. Elias is in system with me. My husband Chaya is in chat. Yeah, that's Chaya. Everyone wave. Everyone wave to my husband. Okay. I am a con goer with several years of experience and headmate to multiple panelists, including Goratrix, who many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. I can look like any number of things, but that on the left is what we are going with, so I do not scare anyone off with my usual body horror. I'm an unblinking meme machine, and basically giving this presentation because I realized that many people simply do not know how to behave in a con space, and instead of getting mad about it every year, I could give people a guide, because it's unreasonable to expect people to just magically know how to behave. No one is born knowing how to go to a con. To get something out of the way really, really fast, if you needed me to tell you this, I'm glad I told you this. Don't say bigoted things on the con floor. Anti-Semitic dog whistles, racism, sexism, ableism, queerphobia, any of it, don't be a bigot. This isn't etiquette. This is basic respect. Don't say bigoted things on the con floor. Okay? I'm not going to get into it, but just that's basics. Do you have a PDF of the presentation? I have slides. I can provide my slideshow when I am done so that people can review it. Okay. How to behave in chat. First of all, thank you to my dear headmate Ciros for volunteering to be the quote-unquote bad example in all of these screenshots. He is going to be misbehaving in every screenshot. He knows better, I promise. All Ciros-based examples are exaggerated for comedic effect, but are based on real things we have seen at cons. If you see your own behavior reflected either in Ciros' screenshots or in the don'ts I give, that's okay. Again, no one was born knowing how to go to a con. You didn't know. Again, if you needed me to tell you this, I'm glad that I told you this. Take a breath and you can change your behavior. All right. First of all, how to behave in chat. Don't make everything about you. Feel free to talk about yourself, but if that's all you ever talk about, no one will feel like you're engaging with them. If you realize you've been talking about yourself for a while, try asking an open-ended question about other people. Similarly, don't dominate every conversation. If you talk over people and make yourself the center of attention all the time, no one is going to want to talk to you. They're going to feel pushed out of chats instead. And don't talk about just one subject. If you make every conversation about one subject, you start sounding less like a person to chat with and more like an advertisement for that topic. And use spoiler tags appropriately. Don't just spoiler a single word in your sentence with no warning. That doesn't help anyone. That's just kind of like, ooh, content warning. This thing has content. Instead, use spoiler tags to cover larger blocks of text about an upsetting subject with a clear content warning first. Blocking out a single word, it just kind of is like, well, guess what I said, and if you click it, it's your own fault if you get upset. I don't really feel like that's very helpful. Content in my Discord server, it's more likely than you think. How to behave in chat, accessibility edition. Please think of disabled people and limit typing quirks if you can. You can see how I usually type. Usually I type very much like this, but you won't see me doing it to you in Othercon because it's hard on screen readers to use and shorthands, to use numbers and shorthands, and I don't want to be inaccessible. And it's worse when replacing letters with numbers, spacing things out, and other more drastic quirks. If you have to type with them, you absolutely can. If it's an accessibility issue for you, yeah, do what you need to. But just, if you're just kind of doing it for fun, consider decreasing their usage or impact on your words, or maybe have a plain text translation before or after, because some people may have trouble reading them. This is especially true of asking questions in the panel questions chat. Please don't use quirks if you can avoid it. Your panelist might not be able to read your question. Also, please do not use flashing or flickering GIFs. People with epilepsy or other conditions may find the rapid movement or flickering of GIFs uncomfortable or downright dangerous. This can trigger seizures. Please be mindful of the GIFs you use. Some years, some cons have limited their use across the board or in certain channels. Please do not try to bypass this. It's shitty. I'm not trying to be the fun police. I'm trying to keep people safe. Also, the topic of accessibility, Nova, I believe, did a great panel on accessibility. I really recommend checking that out if you want to know more. It's not just for like communicating over text. It's in a lot of places, and it's a really great panel. How to behave in chat, Fiction Folk Edition. Do say hello to Fiction Folk. Feel free to say hello to Fiction Folk. Don't avoid us. We like talking to people like you. If you don't want to, if we didn't want to be acknowledged, we wouldn't be at the con. I wouldn't be proxying if I didn't want you to know who I am. Do ask Fiction Folk how they want to be treated. In an extended conversation, it's worth asking if Fiction Folk are willing to talk about their source, their experiences, their source mates, etc. Don't just assume, and most Fiction Folk are totally happy to tell you what they're up for if they ask. I've never known a Fiction Folk where you're like, hey, are you up for talking about your source? They just start yelling at you. Like, usually they're either like, yeah, absolutely, or they're like, no, I'm not really comfortable with that. And you can go, okay, and move on. Yeah, Poppy says your mileage may vary considering some of us have celebrity victor types and kind of miss being treated like that. But you can also communicate that to people and be like, hey, if you see me at a con, yell Poppy or whatever. And then people can get used to, saying that because that's what you like. Yes, fictives count as Fiction Folk. Fiction Folk is a umbrella term for fiction kin, fictives, fiction-hearted people, etc., etc. It's a broad term. Don't treat Fiction Folk like a cast member at a Disney park. Shouting something at them and expecting them to respond with a canned line is dehumanizing or depersoning, depending on how you prefer the term, and really weird. Don't do it. This is a fast track to Fiction Folk avoiding the hell out of you, and the story will spread through the community. If you overstep accidentally, apologize and do better in the future. Also, yes, I'm trying to keep an eye on chat. I definitely can't look in panel questions. You're gonna have to save your questions for the end. I'm having to monitor chat on my phone, so I'm definitely gonna miss stuff. Yes, Dragons is talking about if you have OCD compulsions about doing a typing quirk, OCD therapy is very effective. Absolutely. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it to anyone who feels like they might need it. How to behave in chat continued. Be respectful. of everyone. Alterhuman cons have a lot of different people with very different experiences. Be respectful of both that and everyone's boundaries. Similarly, respect your own boundaries. Step back if you get upset. Don't get into a fight. Just disengage from the con for a little while. Go get a snack or take a walk until you feel like you can face people again. Utilize Discord's block and ignore features. If you don't like someone, that's totally fine. Use the block and ignore features to not see their messages anymore. This doesn't work on Pluralkit or Tupper proxies, unfortunately. There's not really a good workaround on that. But it does on unproxied messages. And respect preferences about DMs. People have preferences about who can DM them and send them friend requests. Please respect this. If you aren't sure, just ask. I know. It's like, oh, well, my message is really important and should override their preferences. No, it isn't. Please don't. Great familiar faces. If you saw someone at a con previously and want to say hello, feel free. Not weird. Lurking is okay. Feel free to lurk if that's what you want to do. You can talk as much or as little as you'd like. No one will get weird about you being quiet. Nobody cares. Talk about panels. If you enjoyed or are looking forward to a panel, talk about it. Drum up interest in it from other people. The panelist will see this and will appreciate it. Do not complain about panels publicly. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Panelists will see the mean things you say in public about their panels that they put on for free because they love it. Complain in private if you have to. You can complain to your friends if you really, really want to. Don't. Be nice. How to behave in chat. Final points. Try not to be negative or bring the mood down too much. Somber moments are fine, but if you're constantly self-deprecating, talking about how much your life sucks, how much you hate your alterhuman identity or something similar, people are going to want to talk to you because they're going to find you really deeply off-putting. It's okay if you're not up to the party vibe, but try not to make a bunch of strangers miserable just because you're having a bad day. I know, you want to talk about heavier stuff and vent, but a convention floor is not really the place for it. That's kind of more for your friend group or maybe your therapist or, by all means, talk about where you struggle and what's hard, but don't make it your entire personality at the con, and definitely don't self-deprecate. You can see in Cirrus's examples, I'm not even fun or funny. No one likes being around me because I'm worthless. No one likes hearing that, really. Don't get snippy with people for either using or not using tone tags. Tone tags are useful for some people, but an accessibility nightmare for others. If possible, when using a more unusual or less intuitive tone tag, writing out what you mean might be ideal so as to avoid confusion. Putting nobody here in parentheses or /nobody here rather than /NBH, for example. I always see NBH and think non-binary horse. I'm not a tone tag person. It's for some people. It's not for me. Just accept that some people like them, some people don't. Yes, also someone, Kit the Cat, also people don't know how to respond to self-deprecating speech. It kills the convo a lot of the time. Absolutely. The non-binary horse! And remember, the conventions are for fun. Don't start fights, get into discourse, or really bother with arguments. Take it outside or just drop the matter entirely. If you think someone is saying or doing something dangerous, don't argue with them. Take it directly to staff. Don't put the vent in the convention. Absolutely. Speaking of staff, how to treat staff. Be nice. Staff are volunteers who are doing this for free. They're not cops. They're not oppressors. They're not trying to ruin your fun. They're just trying to make sure everyone is having a good, safe time. But don't put them on pedestals. They're trying to have fun at the convention just like you. They're not infallible. They don't have more weight in normal conversations just because they're staff. Yeah, Poppy, most of this can be summarized as be nice, but a lot of people don't know what that means. So I decided to write a guide. Use the ticket system. Staff didn't set up the ticket system for fun. It's there for a reason. Please use it if possible. I know this year they can have 5 open tickets in a category at a time, so you might just have to be patient if you can't open yours. And don't argue publicly with moderation decisions. Public channels are not the place. You can have issue with how something's handled. You can discuss that privately. Don't go on the con floor about it. It's not the time. Final points on how to treat staff. Do report shitty behavior and ping staff if something looks like it's really getting out of hand. Exact rules will depend on convention, but generally there's a way to let staff know that something is getting out of hand or turning into a fight. There comes a point where you don't handle it yourself, you let staff know and get out of there. Don't harass staff for their decisions or for not doing things as quickly as you would like. They have lives too. Conventions are very busy. They could be getting lunch or something. Similarly, if you disagree with the decision, harassment is not the answer. Be mature about it. Have a mature conversation if you feel like something was not handled correctly. Don't be like, you're so stupid for doing it this way. Just don't. Okay, relevant to everyone listening to this panel right now, how to behave in panel chats. Do not jump ahead of the panelist. If they're talking about something, don't jump in and try to sound smart by saying everything you know about the topic when they're clearly getting there. Fun facts or thoughts on related topics are fine. There's an example up at the top. With Sarah saying, oh my God, yes, the 1980s were so interesting for Othercon history. Then in 1999, and we're getting there. Like, if it's going through like a history, like, give the panelists a minute. Like, if you know something interesting, wait until they get to that part. And then if they don't mention it, then you can bring it up because they didn't mention it. I know, Poppy. It's easy to get excited. It's okay. But, etiquette. It's okay. Exactly. Yeah, it's totally possible to come off as rude without trying to. No one's evil for doing this. You're not bad. You're not, terrible. It's just like, just be careful. Constant battle of reining ADHD excitement. And this, okay, confession. This bullet points for me. I need to be patient in panels. I need to be quiet. Guilty. I do this. Use the panel questions chat. Don't ask panelists questions in chats they're not looking for questions in. Usually there's a separate channel for questions. Put your questions there. I'll also add usually panelists answer questions at the end, so just be patient. Don't expect the panelist to respond to you personally, especially during the presentation. The panelist is busy and probably not checking chat. The fact that I am is a little bit unusual. Either way, there is a lot going on, except that you're not always going to get responded to. And don't spam chat. Have fun, but try not to spam the chat. A lot of people need to use it. This includes too many reaction images or GIFs. If you have a single word or emoji response, consider an emoji reaction on a message. But, have fun. I mean, don't let this stop you. Just, be considerate of how many messages you're sending that may or may not have significant content. If all of your messages are part of the conversation, this isn't about you. How to behave in panel chats. Participate. You're absolutely welcome to lurk, and there's nothing wrong with it, but panelists love interaction. Please feel free to talk and comment and be silly, especially in interactive panels. That's the whole point of the con, community interaction. Especially ask questions when prompted. Panelists love questions. Start running jokes as often as possible. #eatplastic. Okay, this is mostly a joke, but it's a lot of fun. Drink your soup and eat your plastic, kids. That was a running joke. Lots of people participated in at Othercon 2023. I was part of starting it. I will not claim I did start it. I was part of it. And we all had a good time. To be clear, don't eat plastic. Okay? For legal reasons, please do not eat plastic. And don't watch panels you don't like, and definitely don't say so. If a panel is making you mad, disconnect quietly. If you think the panelist's voice is whack, disconnect quietly. There are lots of panels at most cons, and you don't need to suffer through something you're not really enjoying. And absolutely do not say you are leaving because you don't like the panel. That is so rude. Final points on how to behave in panel chats. You do not need to tell the panelist you are leaving their panel and why. I know a lot of panelists get put out by seeing a bunch of messages saying that people need to leave early, especially if they say they didn't like the content of the panel. Just disconnect quietly. If you've been really active in the conversation, they might wonder where you went, and I unfortunately have to get going, but this has been so much fun as appropriate. Yeah, Paige is right. Don't leave the panel and then complain elsewhere visibly in con chats. It's super rude, something we've seen happen. Absolutely it is, and it was very inappropriate. Example for this one with Ciro's. Hi, I'm someone who hasn't talked yet, and you didn't know I was at your panel. I'm leaving because I'd rather go walk the dog. Yeah, I'm leaving this panel because I'm evil and evil. Goodbye, everyone. I'm going to sail with a boat. The sea calls to me. You joke. I see people say stuff like that all the time. They're like, I'm leaving. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know you existed, but now I feel bad. And please keep questions relevant to the panel in question. Please do not ask someone talking about fictives what to do about your lion stereotype, divorce, student loans, persecutor, or broken arm. That's not a joke. We've gotten some very off-topic questions. And please also remember that your questions are in front of hundreds of people, will be recorded, and will be on YouTube forever most of the time. Asking a random panelist about, for example, like how to deal with your broken arm or your divorce or your student loans is just, it's awkward for everyone. They're not prepared to answer. Yeah, okay. So you do not want my advice, Goratrix here. For anyone who knows him, he very famously freaked the fuck out and turned evil upon getting divorced. Yes. Has anyone asked about divorce at a panel? Yeah, that did happen at one of Goratrix's panels. Someone did ask for his advice on their divorce. And it's on YouTube. Like, you can find it. And I assume they were just hoping he had advice. Like, I don't think they did anything wrong per se. I just think it was an inappropriate place to do that. And he was an inappropriate person to ask. Yeah, we're going to move on from that. How to give panel feedback. So at the end, for those who don't know, at the end of a convention, most cons will have a panel feedback form that you can optionally fill out and give feedback on a panel. Some of the rudest stuff I see at cons is in here. So here's a little etiquette on how to do that appropriately. In the panel feedback form, while you were typing something, ask yourself, would I be happy to receive this feedback? Would I find it useful? Would this encourage me to make more panels, or would it make me want to quit? Yes, it was at the Living as a Fictive panel, Dosky. Giving panel feedback, say nice things. Always say something nice if you attended a panel and intend to leave feedback. You can leave panels you did not attend blank or simply put NA. If you had to leave a panel early, you don't need to say that, and definitely don't make it everything you have to say about the panel. If all you say about a panel is I left early, that reads as you didn't like it, and they don't need to know that. Just put NA if you don't have anything to say. And if you can't say anything nice, just don't say anything. It's okay. The panel feedback form is optional. If you just completely hated a panel, don't say anything about it. Chances are the intended audience of the panel wasn't you, and that's okay. Not everything is for you. Sometimes you go to a panel and you're disappointed that it's not what you hoped it was, and that's okay. Final points and panel feedback. If you have criticism, ask yourself, is this mean? Am I putting this in a way that's going to hurt the panelists' feelings? If yes, don't do that. Panelists are doing this for free because they love it. I know multiple panelists who wanted to quit forever due to some mean feedback they got on their passion project. It takes 10 nice things to balance out something mean. Stop canceling Goratrix in my chat. Only I can do that. So this example is Ciro saying panelist's voice was annoying. That's a real piece of feedback we've seen, not on one of our panels, but on someone else's panels. The entire piece of feedback someone got was panelist's voice was annoying. What are they supposed to do about that? Don't say that. Be quiet. If you think the panelist's voice is annoying, just be quiet. That being said, if you have constructive criticism about things you would have liked to see in sections of the panel you think could be strengthened, feel free to say so. Just be kind in your suggestions, and also be sure to talk about something you liked. If possible, try a compliment sandwich. Thing you liked, thing you think could use improving, another thing you liked. It softens the impact while still communicating what you want to get across. Basically, don't be a dick. Be nice to people or don't talk to them at all. Stick to your boundaries and respect everyone else's. Have fun, but don't impede on others' ability to have fun. And go out there, be yourself, and get silly with it. And eat plastic. And Cirrus wants me to make sure you all know he knows how to behave in public. He promises. Sascha, please don't let them believe I'm actually like this. He knows better. He doesn't act like this. Please, I'm nice. I know how to behave. Yeah, he knows how to behave. Them's the panel. Let me kill the stream. Kill the stream. Take it out back. All right. And that gives us about, I think, like half an hour for questions. If anyone has any etiquette questions. Ooh, hang on. Let me send the links to the slides. Link can view. Only view. Nothing else. Okay. I'm putting it in panel questions so it doesn't get buried. There's my slides if you want to review them, or send them to anyone. All right, what are your questions? Any advice for how to make friends at an online con? It's hard to connect, I think, and I don't want to come off too strong. You are asking someone who is not very good at making friends. We mostly just kind of make ourselves visible and easy to befriend for other people. So this is not an easy question for us to answer, but the main thing I think is just to kind of don't come off too strongly, in the main chats, but talk to people you like and ask if you can send a friend request or DM them. I find it's easiest to locate people you want to be friends with at the con and then talk to them privately. It's much, much easier to make friends privately. Any etiquette for voice chats? Yeah, okay. That's kind of going to be sort of universal on the internet, but don't talk over people. Try to make sure that everyone has a turn. Sometimes I know it's kind of hard when there's like 50 people in a voice chat. Just try not to be a disproportionate amount of the conversation. Like if you are talking 50% of the time and the other 50% is everyone else, that's not cool. Checking chat real quick. Dragons has some good advice for befriending people in the panel chat. Paige is an evil Othercon attendee and is DMing random people for tax advice and soup recipes as we speak. Practice listening skills in voice chat. That's great advice. What about beings like me who words are hard were the emoji understandable? I don't know what emoji. I didn't see. So I'm afraid I can't answer that one. When you have anxiety and or autism, how do you judge if you're being rude or just worried about being rude? If I ever find this out, I will be sure to let you know. I have anxiety and autism, and I have to guess every day of my life. That's part of why I wrote this etiquette guide so that you could check your behavior against some quick bullet points to catch anything egregious, because anything else is going to be so small that people are not going to get too pissed about it typically, or they can just communicate it. Arcade, stop advocating for tax fraud in the chat. Paige, no. In terms of accessibility of typing quirks, is all lowercase hard to read / hard for screen readers, or is all lowercase chill? I've never heard any issues with all lowercase being difficult. I think screen readers can handle that just fine. If that's not true, if anyone knows anything different, please feel free to say so, but I think it's fine. Could you give a short etiquette guide on how to treat public figures / content creators one sees in the space? Treat them like everyone else. Don't put them on a pedestal. Don't like go, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, it's so and so, blah 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 blah. Like they're just like, a lot of people get this a lot. Like a lot of my friends get this. Do not do a tax fraud panel. A lot of people get this. Like a lot of my friends are seen as like quote unquote big name otherkin, which is a hilarious phrase. Yeah, Paige is saying he gets this sometimes. Just treat them normally. Like you can say, oh hey, you know, I'm familiar with your work. I really like what you've done. And then like you can ask them a question about it, and then that can lead really naturally into like a conversation. They're not better than you. They're not, you know, scary. They're not intimidating. They're just like you and just want to chat. Um, uh, I don't think the slides cover this, but do you have anything to say about how to interact with other beings whose sense of self / claims about themselves / claim about the world fundamentally conflict with your own way of seeing the world / what's real / what's possible? Just feel like it's a good baseline convo to have. Yeah, okay. That's a big one. That's a really difficult one. And I didn't feel like that would fit into a 101, but I can cover this real quick. Agree to disagree a lot of times. Often it's possible to respect that someone believes something without you needing to believe it yourself. It's like when you have different religious opinions. A lot of times though, if it's really conflicting or if it's like triggering in some way for you, like for example, I have some issues with some unreality and some people who say things because they are experiencing delusions about the reality they're experiencing can be quite triggering for me. Sometimes I have to block them for my own mental health, and that's okay. You can absolutely block someone or use the ignore feature on Discord or whatever. This is a morally neutral option. You're not being ableist. You are protecting yourself from distress. That's okay. Yeah, respect everyone's boundaries, including your own. Just, you know, you can talk about yourself and your beliefs, and you can listen to other people talk about themselves and their beliefs, but they should not be trying to make you believe their thing, if that makes sense. Like if someone is trying to make you believe what they are saying, especially if they don't have any evidence, that's a breach of etiquette on their part. They should not be doing that. You are not obligated to engage with that person who is behaving badly. Yeah, Valiant says we've already seen takes / fundamental beliefs that don't agree with ours, but it's interesting to learn about other people's takes. If it's something like unhealthy stuff, turn away from it, IMO. Yeah, you can just go, I'm not gonna engage with this. I'm gonna walk away. That's totally fine. It is hard for me to internalize that blocking is not a you're the worst person ever label given by someone. No, like blocking is just, it's just saying I don't want to see what you have to say, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, if someone blocks or mutes you, don't take it personally. It might be for personal reasons like accessibility or triggers. Yeah. Goratrix will talk about that. He'll block people on Tumblr for anything. Like, I guarantee you people at this con are blocked by Goratrix, and most of the time it's not personal. He's not like, oh, you're evil and I hate you. He's like, you post something in the tags that I don't like, or he's like, you type in a way that pisses me off or something. Like, it's a really minor thing. It's not, I don't want to ever interact with you. It's, I don't want to see your posts. I block people for posting at fandoms I don't like. Real. Setting a boundary is blocking. Yep. Ignoring is also an option. Yeah, on Discord, ignoring is nice because it basically works as blocking, but they have no way to find out that you ignored them. It completely bypasses their ability to see that. Off-topic questions for people to skip. You mentioned being a Zamisi. When did you discover this? I'm effective. So I've always known, and then I got here and went, where am I? How did I get here? I'm so lost. So I guess I discovered being a Zamisi when I woke up from the embrace, and my sire was like, you're a Zamisi, and I went, oh shit. A Zamisi is a type of vampire where I am from in Vampire the Masquerade. Meet Your Heroes panel was linked in the panel chat. Highly recommend taking a look at that if you're not sure how to treat like people you see as like content creators or role models or people you look up to in the community. Oh, good. It's in panel questions too. Thank you, Dosky. Oh, good point from Manta/Blue. If you block or ignore someone, do not open their messages to engage or especially rage bait yourself. That's the hard thing. Don't look at their messages. You blocked them for a reason. Everyone loves the ignore feature. It's a great feature. Yeah, I do have to say blocking becomes hard when it's enough people that it just does not stop coming and is poorly tagged. Yeah, that's bad behavior on their part if they're not tagging at all and you're trying to avoid it and no one's tagging. It's a problem. At some point, your blog had too much orange on it. Became my shorthand for there being a lot of reasons why someone used the blog button and to remind myself it's not personal. Yeah. Don't look at your ex's blog, says Poppy. Correct. If you have someone blocked and you have a conversation about them, they're meant to hear that shitty, don't do that. Absolutely. Do we have any other questions? Any etiquette questions? We've got time as hell. I sped through that. First time here's a bit of anxiety on accidentally offending someone. Yeah, so the thing is with that is people are going to offend each other all the time, accidentally, constantly. And that's okay. There's nothing morally wrong with like messing up a little bit. Typically what's going to happen is if you hurt someone's feelings, they're either going to go, this isn't really worth it, and they're just going to move on and forget about it. Or they're going to say, hey, that wasn't nice. And then you can sit back and go, you know what? They're right. I'm so sorry. And you apologize and then you move on. It's okay. No one's ever going to be perfect. Everyone's going to mess up. There's nothing wrong with making a mistake. There's nothing wrong with slipping up. It's just kind of how it is. That's okay. The only way you learn is by making mistakes. Yep. I don't have a question specifically, but something about doubles would be good to say, like how doubles DNI is realistically going to work on a Discord server. Doubles DNI is such a difficult thing to kind of maintain. I have a double. My double might be in this chat at the moment. I don't know if she's up. Ashana, babe, you're here. My double, everybody. I love my double. Okay. I feel like a lot of people have a really kind of unhealthy approach to kind of doubles and, oh, well, they're not real. I'm the real whoever, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people have a very realistic and like valid reason for not wanting to deal with doubles. For anyone who doesn't know, a double is when you are fiction folk and someone else has the same fictomere as you. For example, if someone is, Dave Strider fictionkin and they meet someone else who's Dave Strider fictionkin, that's a double. Some people have very legitimate reasons for not wanting to deal with doubles. The main thing is you can't, it could be its own panel, so I'm not going to get deep into it, but the basic thing is you can't expect doubles to just stay away from you. If you're both going to be in a Discord server, you can't expect the Discord server to side with you or them. You have to kind of enforce your own thing. You need to be able to block them. You need to be able to ignore them. You don't have to talk to them. You don't need to be friends with them, but you have to be able to see them. If you can't see them without getting really upset, that is, I'm sorry to say, that is a you problem, and you're going to need to be able to figure out how to bring that level of distress down. I don't have any specific advice for you. I am not a therapist. I believe there are guides and resources online. If any of you have anything for that, that would be awesome. But yeah, the thing is with doubles DNI in a Discord server, it's not going to work. You can't maintain that consistently. Most people I know are cool about doubles, honestly. Like, some people aren't, but most people I know are. It's not as common of a thing as you think it is. If I'm not used to making new friends, how do I practice being attentive instead of turning the conversation on myself? How do I find the balance? Okay, actually, I do have advice for this. Ask open-ended questions of people. If you notice you've been talking about yourself for a couple minutes, that's cool, but then you can be like, oh, I'm Ben 10, this, that, the other thing, yada, yada, yada. And then you notice they have some kind of, space-related something. You can be like, well, how about you? How do you feel about space? Or, how did space travel work? Or, something like that. Of course, Ben 10 mentioned you're Ben 10. I'm talking about you. Like, try open-ended questions and try to learn about them and try to relate to them and find things to say about yourself that will interest them and try to find things about them that interest you. Try to find a common ground and then, kind of try to get into it. Try to, figure out, why do you love being the thing you are? Because when someone really talks about something they love, it's hard not to love it too, Shepherd of the Shepherds. Would you say there's a limit to how easily you block someone? One time I was irritated and blocked someone for not liking the color orange. I'm not sure if that's appropriate or way too dramatic or what. You can do whatever you want with blocking, because the thing is, blocking is a personal decision that actually has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you going, I don't want to deal with you if you're going to be negative about the color orange. You can establish your own boundaries as much as you want. Very good point from Ashina about doubles. But yeah, no, block anyone for any reason. It doesn't matter. If you block a lot of people, you're going to have to run into, people noticing eventually. But, that's too bad. If a channel is having conversation on one topic, how long should I wait before bringing up a different topic? I don't want to interrupt a conversation. I just have trouble knowing when it's okay to talk about something else / when the conversation is over. Oh boy, that's a hard one for me too. My general rule is, if it depends on how active the chat is. If it's one where people just kind of respond every 5 to 10 minutes, it can be really hard to tell. Sometimes you have to wait a while, but at Othercon, if it's been more than 10 or 15 minutes and no one's responded, you're good. You're clear. It's a con. There's a lot of space for people to talk. Ashina, why does my proxy not have my married name? Don't worry, I constantly still call myself Sascha-Vykos and go, I forgot about my husband. I abandoned my boy. Yeah, Arcade also points out, if you really want to be sure that you are not interrupting conversation, start a thread. You can just kind of pop into a conversation like, hey, don't want to interrupt. I wanted to kind of bring up this topic. I'm going to put it in a thread for anyone who wants in. Okay, bye. That's totally fine. No one's going to mind you doing that. Do you suggest a good channel to start conversations in, or someplace to meet new members? I just hop in somewhere where there's a conversation ongoing that seems interesting to you, where there's a topic that's interesting. Take a look in a thread for a really specific thing at Othercon, or, for me, I'm plural, so I look in the plurality chat. It really is just kind of a matter of finding people talking about something you find interesting and want to talk about, and you just hop in. It's a little intimidating, but you do kind of just have to jump in both feet first. And if you are awkward or kind of weird, that's okay. No one's going to think anything of it. No one's going to remember you being kind of awkward. It's totally fine. Everyone has so much else to think about. Poppy says, I completely forgot to listen to Sasha's answer to my question because I was so busy coming up with more newbie questions. TLDR, ask people open-ended questions, try to find out things that you find interesting about them, try to connect things about you to things about them, etc., etc. If you want my long answer, you'll have to review the recording. Open-ended question. What's your opinion on spontaneous combustion? Real. Off-topic question. Feel free to skip. What are your thoughts for all time zones? Does it annoy you at all? I don't know what you mean. Another question similar to Poppy's. How do you figure out what questions to even ask someone if you want to know them better? Like, what if I don't know they like space? I get concerned about oversharing, but I also get concerned about asking too many questions. So what I tend to do is I wait until someone says something to indicate something that I can ask questions about. Like, for example, at Othercon, I just kind of stalk channels until someone seems really interesting, and then I'll say something. Or if I talk about myself and someone engages with it, they'll usually say something about themselves, like continuing to use the Ben 10 example to keep Poppy's attention on the panel, heart. If Poppy's talking about being Ben 10 and someone else pops in like, oh, wow, that's really cool. I also like, transform into stuff. If you, for example, are some kind of shapeshifter, you can be like, oh, I also like transform into stuff. What kind of things do you transform into? Like, you kind of have to just sort of wait until someone talks about themselves, which is why you should talk about yourself at Othercon. It's about identity. Talk about yourself, and so people can find you if they want to, get to know you better. There's an inflatable cactus attending the con this year. Arcade, do you promise? Thank you. That's brightened my day. Thank you to the inflatable cactus attending this year. I love Othercon because you get to see so many interesting identities you never considered before. Like, someone will always show up to Othercon and say, I'm something you've never considered. I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like, we had a panelist earlier, Rowan, I think. It was like, I'm a rock. And I'm like, what? That's so cool. You're a rock. Any other questions? Any further questions? How do I divorce if I'm not married? However you want to. Everyone's going to run a panel on being a rock on Sunday, I think. Thank goodness. I'm stoked. How does plastic taste? Delicious. How do I become as cool and awesome as all the panelists? Poppy, you're already as cool and awesome as all the panelists, and so's everyone else in chat. That's the secret. We're all cool. Also, you are a panelist. Supposed to run a panel. Well, you are going to run a panel. More panels. Everyone run panels. How would you go about talking about yourself in a way that doesn't like detract from the current convo? Like, if you're all shapeshifters, is it appropriate to just bring up what you can change into? Yeah, absolutely. Would it be better to ask a question or launch it? Nah. You could do either. Like, you're talking to shapeshifters and you're like, wow, I'm also a shapeshifter. I usually turn into this, this, and this. What do y'all usually turn into? Like, you can kind of do both. So then you're sharing something about yourself that might make people ask you a question, but you're also asking a question so people can talk about themselves. Social conversations like that are they're a give and a take a little bit. You kind of have to you're playing like tennis. You kind of have to knock the ball back and forth. And it's okay if people give you the ball and say, please hold the ball and talk about yourself, to sit there and talk about yourself. Like, that's cool. But, if you're just kind of in a conversation, be sure to knock it back to them sometimes. But don't be afraid of, catching it and taking a turn. Pretty sure folks have done AMA style panels before. Yes, AMA style panels are awesome. You can totally run a panel where your whole thing is, I'm going to talk about myself for an hour. Please come by and ask me questions. People love it because people love to hear about other people's identities. And if people don't care about you and your identity, they just don't show up. What was / is the panel process like for you? Nova and we actually did a panel on running panels. Highly recommend checking that out. It was mostly me scribbling down in a document for this panel things I'd seen at cons that annoyed me. I'm like, what have I seen that pissed me off? And then I sat back and asked, what is the root cause of this? Why is this happening? And then I just started writing out, what's causing this? Why are people doing this? Why do they think it's okay? And helping explain, a better way to kind of approach these desires and still get what they want out of the con without, accidentally annoying everyone around them. Because, listen, we've all been there. We've all had a turn on being the annoying guy in the room. Being annoying is morally neutral, but I wanted to give people something because no one wants to be annoying, okay? No one wants to be the guy that no one wants to talk to. So I wanted to give people something to kind of grasp onto. And then I love PowerPoints, so I just made a slideshow. The hardest thing was formatting it. Have you had any fun interaction that you can share as a con goer or panelist? I have not been talking much this year. I was really busy yesterday, and then today I kind of got up and ran my panel. I've always had fun with the inside jokes. 2023, I was all around. I was doing the plastic eating. I was having a good time. I don't run into source mates very much. It's usually my headmates. This is my first time being a panelist. My headmates are panelists all the time. But we always have a really good time as panelists or at, on the con floor. I think one of the ones we can think of immediately is, I think it was at the Centaurus Festival, this most recent Centaurus Festival. Medivh was talking, and someone rocked up and was like, oh, hey, you're Medivh. I'm Medivh. And they have been friends ever since. And it was awesome. But he was always kind of chin in hands, kicking his feet like, I hurt my double. Are you guys talking about cereal as soup in panel chat again? Why are we talking about ravioli being Pop-Tarts? What is happening? I looked away from panel chat to answer Ryu's very nice question. Are you well hydrated and fed? Yes, I have a lot of water here. I had some food and I'm going to eat after this also. I think folks need to eat. Yeah. Sounds like it's a lunchtime for Othercon. Have not eaten today. Eat. Food panel. We all eat food. Panel where it's just I blocked off this time slot so no one else could do anything. Everyone go get some food. Okay, how would you gather the confidence to even like start making a panel? I'd like to talk about stuff or just interact with the community more, but I don't feel myself as like a teacher really. I don't know if I can teach about subjects with absolute certainty. I get worried someone with more knowledge will actually in the middle of presenting. So the thing about making a panel is that no one is as much of an expert as they look like. Gorotrix made his first panel when he'd been alive for a year. It was his second Othercon. He'd formed during the other one, and he went, well, I have an opinion, and he climbed up on stage and said his opinion, and everyone cheered. The thing is with making a panel is it's not about confidence, it's about love for their topic, and it's about wanting to share that with people and wanting to be able to interact with people and wanting to be on stage and teaching people about your thing. No one's gonna actually you most of the time because that's rude, and people want panelists to succeed. No one is trying to tear you down. Everyone wants you to succeed. If you feel like you don't know a topic very well, I'd recommend reaching out to other experts on that topic. Like, for example, if you wanted to talk about like Otherkin history, you know, there are people who have done a lot of work on that you could reach out to and ask for, you know, advice or, you know, ask them questions about their work. They're not going to actually you because they want you to succeed. You don't need to be a teacher, you need to be a peer, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not teaching you guys how to do con etiquette because I know everything about etiquette and I do it perfectly. I'm a peer who's like, you know, I wish I had a guide for doing this. And I know a lot of people wish they had a guide. I'm going to make that guide because I'm autistic and wish someone else had done this. And I got help. I didn't do it by myself. I reached out to my friends and said, can you look at this and make sure that I'm doing it right? And they had feedback and I made it better. It's not something you do in isolation. It's something you do as part of a community for your community. You don't need credentials. You don't need to be good at it. You just have to be willing to try. Paige is saying that expertise as an innate talent is a lie. Absolutely. Lots of really good advice and things going on in the panel chat. We start getting recognized as a fiction folk blogger, and I do not know how to communicate to people who approach us that capacity. I'm just a guy who played New Vegas and refused to stop talking. Exactly. So in this case, a panel about like a special interest info dump would be an entirely valid thing to do. Like it could even be an AMA about certain experiences or what. Yes, as long as it's relevant to the con. Like for an alterhuman con, it needs to be a panel about alterhumanity in some way. But like you can absolutely do an AMA about certain experiences. Like Dosky, I believe, once did an AMA about like I'm like being a river deity, and it's like, you know, ask me anything, and that was an awesome panel. People loved that. And definitely if you are just me info dumping, yes, absolutely. You can do a panel about basically anything. Again, as long as it's con relevant. Like and what's relevant can be kind of stretched. Yeah, Sentient Rock panel, absolutely. Dosky, I fully did not notice that you were having trouble during that panel. I thought it was awesome. We loved that panel. Yeah, see, okay, great. You're like, oh, please teach me about that. That's interesting. That's how people would feel about any panel you put on about your own experiences, because your experiences are going to be completely unique. People are going to want to hear about it. People are going to show up to your panel because they care about your topic and they care about what you have to say about it. If someone's not into that, they're just not going to show up. Other people will. I promise you will get, like, depending on the con, like at least 40 people in your audience. Guaranteed. One of my headmates and a couple of friends did a vampire AMA at one point, and that was pretty cool. People liked that because it was 3 different VTM vampires, and everyone's like, whoa, that's 3 different perspectives on the same thing. People really liked that. Okay, we are out of time. We're right up against the end of my panel slot. Thank you all for attending the panel. I hope everyone learned something. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. If you have any other questions, you can ask me elsewhere if you want to. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the con. Thank you.